Yes, it concludes our Q&A session, but we will have audience Q&A session. We got 3 questions, but we have only 10 minutes. I think we need to go to only one question to limiting the tax hike, tax increase rate. So what kind of so the person who answered this question will be Mr. McMorrow. You will be the first person to answer this question. It's about the property tax.
Okay. Yes. Great. We have 2 minutes to answer, Mr. Moderator. Thank you.
It's the same way.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to what I believe in again, which is open budget meetings. There's no other way to do it. I do not believe in doing a budget behind closed doors. How can you not know how we're spending your money? It's your money. You have a right to be there and see our conversations, hear what their thought processes are. I've never been finance chair. If I was, I would not have it any other way. Open government. Publish it. It costs a little money to run an ad. That's what you need to do. You're worth it. You deserve it. That's number 1. Number 2, I believe in zero-based budgeting. If I was finance chair, I would have zero-based budgeting, start at 0, meet with each committee head as a group with the council, and go over what your needs are, what you have to have. I'm not going to say I'm going to give you the same amount of money you had in your budget last year and start from there and then see what we're going to do. You start with 0 and see what you need. If you know you're going to get $200,000 off the top, then why should you try? You already know you have that money. You start with 0 and you use what you need. In this type of an economy, we owe you that much. We all have checking accounts. We know what we can spend. We have a budget. And you have to spend within your budget. And it's a lot of work. Doing a budget is a lot of work. And this year, your taxes went up because the council did not put the work that was needed into it to do it. You deserved better. And nothing else should have been delivered to you other than flat and increased services, which my track record last year was able to do it. It was a lot of work, but I did accomplish it. Thank you.
Ms. Jackson?
Well, the only way that we're going to get out of the current situation that we're in is that we need to bring in more businesses. As far as this year's budget is concerned, Gloria O, who was a finance chair, did an excellent job. She actually saved a lot of money from the various departments. She met with all department heads and they went over their budget and they've actually decreased expenses. The problem isn't the expenses weren't decreased. The problem is that last year, our $900,000 worth of reserve was spent. It was spent because the budget that was delivered was not an efficient budget. It was a budget in which revenues were overestimated and expenses were underestimated. And as a result of that, we had to dip into our reserve. Not only did we have to dip into our reserve, but because we dipped into our reserves, we actually got dinged by Moody's. We went from an AA1 rating to an AA2 rating, which means it's not going to cost us more money to borrow because last year's budget was not a good budget. We should have looked more carefully at what we were doing. In addition, we have a whole influx of tax appeals, which impact our budget. So you have to, when you put a budget together, be very prudent and look forward as to what it is that you're going to experience. And we didn't do that last year. Instead, what we did is we did this little political pandering in which we actually did a small reduction that everyone felt, and then we took the money that we had in the bank, we took our reserve to meet our expenses, and that's why your taxes went up this year. They went up this year because we had nothing to fall back on, and we had to increase it.
Mr. Fellow?
I remember going back to 1995 when I was in the council majority, the Republican majority, when we worked on the budget. We used to sit down with the public there, sitting around the table while we were working on the budget, going line by line. And Mr. Favaro was there, so I'm sure Mr. Favaro remembered that. would like to know why nowadays everything is done behind doors. When they're working on the budget, no public is around. So I would like to bring that back to show the public where everything is being spent. Thank you.
Mr. Favaro?
I would like to remind my good friend Ramon that in 1995 they had a 10% increase in the taxes. Went from $1 to $1.10. 10%, that's a lot. Never happened before, never happened again after. Used a surplus of $937,000 last year, left zero surplus, and as Ms. Jobson just said, our Moody's rating went from AA1 to AA2. This means that anytime we want to borrow money to do a job, we have to pay more money in interest because you got to pay a higher interest the lower your rating goes with Moody's. In 2011, the estimated revenues caused a deficit of $271,000. They underestimated how much money was going to come in. That's what that means. They had no money in the budget for severance pay for people who were retiring, another $350,000. There was no money for tax appeals, another $230,000. They had to get an emergency appropriation of almost $1 million to cover all these expenses. They had no money in the budget for police arbitration. They negotiated with the PBA, and this negotiation cost us $600,000 for overtime. It cost us $300,000 for out-of-rank services, which means if a patrolman does the job of a lieutenant. This year, Gloria O was able to cut $118,000 out of the budget. We were able, Mr. Plowk and me were able to negotiate with the police, and we got them to cut their overtime down from $600,000 to $175,000, and their out-of-title expenses from $300,000 to $80,000. The two of us did that, what the negotiating attorneys that they had couldn't do in 2 years. We did it in 2 hours. So, you know, when I hear how terrific it was for a $26 decrease, it cost us close to $1 million, that $26.
Stop. Is there anybody who wants to spend rebuttal time?
Yes, I would like to mention something. I don't know if Mr. Favaro remember when we had the majority in 1995, we got what was left from the previous Democrat. The amount of money that was left there, it was only $40,000.
Oh, that's why you raised it 10%.
No, and look what's happening this
Mr. Favaro,
year.
you are speaking to the audience now.
Yeah. All right. Well, and look what's happening this year. How much was left from last year's budget?
Right, thank you. So there will be our Q&A session. You know, it's already,
I want
yes,
to rebut
yes, Ms.
30
Mango.
seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
I just want, first of all, Councilman Favara said that there's never been another 10%. He's right. The Democrats raised it in 2005, 8.38%, 2006, 9.18%, 2007, 8.82%, 2008, 9.17%. So he's right. They didn't do 10%, but I just gave you 4 years in a row of close to 10. And it was a great budget. That's all I could say. This is
The lowest tax rate in the world.
yeah.